Should be good to go here. We're live. Welcome in, guys. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense will begin at 6 minutes after the hour. Welcome in on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and X. Great to have you here today. Guest Lee, the Gunwriter Williams, will be with you momentarily. Welcome in, guys. We're ready to get started with Lee, the Gunwriter Williams. Not hearing a stream yet. Feed. Derek, we good? Not hearing you, not hearing a feed. Guys, I'm jumping on in here. I do believe we are live. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today here in the CZ studios. Good heavens, what a day. The violent left going absolutely berserk. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot to cover with you today. As I said, Mark Walters in the CZ studios with you today. It's all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. And we're sitting here, of course, in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Our guest today, Lee, the Gunwriter Williams. Derek, can we get Lee in here?
Got him.
Lee, how you doing, brother? All right, I've got no feed coming in from the network. Can we, let's try a program 2 or something.
Right there.
Here we go. Lee, do we have you here? Still no Lee. Hang in there with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get there, I promise.
I'm here, bro.
There you go. How you doing?
Here.
Lee, the Gunwriter Williams. Hey, Lee, before we get started, I want to let everybody know, guys, we're live on Facebook, facebook.com/Armed American Radio, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. You can watch us over on X at AAR Mark. You can watch us on Rumble at Armed American Radio, and you can watch us over on YouTube at Armed American Radio. We appreciate that very much. Lee, the Gunwriter Williams, welcome in, brother. How you doing today, man?
Busier than hell, I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah, it's been a week, hasn't it? And there's so much going on right now today. I want to start with the violent rhetoric coming from the left, because before we started the program, you and I are going to talk a lot about Minnesota today, and we're gonna lay down the facts. Okay, we're going to talk about the government response, the government being Kash Patel, of course, and Kristi Noem will talk about some of their statements. But one of the things I think that's more important right now is the reaction from the radical left. I can't play, and I had considered putting up the screenshot, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the streams, of this radical leftist threatening every MAGA, her term, MAGA in the country. Her deep-filled hatred makes it very clear. Says if you have the guts, give her your address. She wants to show up at your house, off your 5-year-old, doesn't matter, your wife, your husband. We have another lunatic, Lee, a Virginia Commonwealth University ICU nurse at the hospital at VCU, that's in Richmond, Virginia. My sister graduated there with a degree in pharmacy. Both my sisters actually graduated from there. And threatening what ICU nurses, doctors, etc., who are part of the quote-unquote resistance league can do. Talking about giving ideas on what type of injections for muscle paralysis, what to use in food injections to cooks at hotels where ICE is staying. Lee, off their rocker, needless to say, incredibly dangerous. This is amping up and ramping up fast. This is not going to turn out well for them. I can promise you that in the long run. But Lee, they're off their rocker, brother. Look, Trump's been in office for 1 year and 6 days today. They've got another 3 years to go. How do you see this playing out, brother?
This is going to get ugly. There's going to be more deaths, probably from and by the left and law enforcement reacting to their chicanery. I see this getting ugly. Now, I thought Trump had a brilliant move getting rid of Christie and the Border Patrol and bringing back Tom Homan. I think that's a stellar move. Tom Homan, I mean, he won awards under Obama for what he's doing now. Fantastic guy. I think that will steady it. I think with Homan there, that should steady the crisis brewing in my home state of Minnesota. But I don't think the Minnesotans on the other team are going to do that. They're not going to go along with it. They'd rather have radical left out there causing problems, hating people, and then hurting people.
So are you okay? Let's get this straight. We've seen and heard the rhetoric coming from our politicians, Minnesota politicians, not my politicians. This is the activity, I believe, is a direct result of what we're seeing from these clowns. Am I missing something?
Without a doubt. No, without a doubt. You've got the mayor and the governor going crazy and basically egging their people on, telling them to shoot photos, to take photos of federal agents out there. I got news for you. Federal agents don't like that. And that's going to interfere. And of course, one thing's going to lead to another when these scenes occur, and there's going to be violence.
All right. Well, there already is violence. And my prediction, sadly, is it's going to ramp up. I don't know what we're going to see. I don't know what we're going to see. No, I don't know what we're going to see over the next 3 years, but it is not going to be pretty, ladies and gentlemen. The mere fact that these people are off their rockers now and have another 3 years to go, is a telltale sign of what's to come. And I'm going to go as far as telling you that this is a highly coordinated, well-funded insurgency effort to bring down the U.S. government. These people who are behind this, using people like Alex Pretti and Ms. Good and the rest of them, they're just the useful idiots. They're the pawns in this game, this very dangerous game being played by the radical insurgent left that is absolutely 100% trying to start violence and a civil war in this country, Lee. That's a bold statement to make, but I stand absolutely by it.
It's going to continue. There's no doubt about that, and it's going to continue to be bad. We're going to see killings. I give Trump a lot of credit today. He tried to calm everybody down. Our side is pretty much, whatever. But their side, no. Their side's only going to get worse because they see the type of national media coverage this crap will gain them.
Yeah, well, here, I wish I could. I can't even read what I have in front of me for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's so vile and so disgusting. In fact, it's so bad, I was hesitant and made a corporate decision at the last moment not to even put it up on the screen, which we could do online, but I chose not to do so because I can't even quote from it, Lee, other than to tell you that this woman wants to come to your house. And of course, Carl Higbie over at Newsmax said, worst mistake you'd ever make, I'm paraphrasing, coming to my house. But
I think the same could be said for a lot of us.
Well, that's very true. But none of us want that to happen. Apparently they do. How does a person, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to pretend to be one on TV or radio, okay? Don't want to be one. If I wanted to be one, I would have studied psychology. But I want to try to get in the heads of some of these people, which is very difficult to do. When you're talking about people who are so off their rocker, who have lost it to this extent, I can't even imagine what they're capable of over the course of the next 36 months.
Well, you're dealing with people that have a very bad lifestyle. But look at the man who was killed, fired from his nursing job because he was not getting along with people. There's always a hole in these people's lives that they think they can get by running around and doing this crap. And it's scared. They're all missing something, either family or love or relationships or brain cells. It's sad, really.
Well, there's obviously a lack of brain cells here. We're going to talk about Alex Pretti here in a few moments because, ladies and gentlemen, facts are facts. They are stubborn things, and facts don't suffer fools. It's that simple. There's a chain of events that occurred on the streets of Minneapolis leading up to his shooting by a Border Patrol agent that was 100% patently avoidable, Lee. I think you would agree with that. 100% avoidable.
Yeah, easily. I hear a lot of crap about him bringing a gun. I don't really care about that. Mm-hmm. That's not the issue. The issue is he was putting himself in a bad situation with federal agents who were trying to do their job. I think locals could have done a better job, local being Minneapolis PD, because they know the area, they know the people, but they were, of course, not allowed to go out there now.
Yeah, well, that's another part of the equation, too. All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is if you want to see how the left is reacting to this in the quote-unquote media, just go do yourself a solid and check out the Drudge Report. And you'll see every single hateful left-wing reporting. I mean, he's got top stories up from Mediaite and the rest of the left-wing lunatic. Drudge has lost his mind, more than likely sold out for money and walked away and took the money. Too much of a coward to tell us exactly what's going on over there. But if you want to get a good indication of how where they're getting this media. Now, I understand also that Blue Sky, we're getting ready to take a break, but I also understand that Blue Sky, the threats to agents' lives and to those of us who support Donald Trump are now just openly flying over at Blue Sky, Lee. Openly flying over at Blue Sky. They're not even hiding it anymore at this point. So when we come back from this break, what I'm going to do is let you know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to give you some advice. All right, we'll give you some of the advice that they would give to their family and friends as well. Not the violent aspect of it, but just good common sense advice. And ask yourself this question during the break. Do you want one of these people representing you in a divorce case? Do you want them operating on you? Maybe being your accountant, running your business? We'll be back with Lee right after this. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walter is filling you a prescription for freedom here in the CZ studios. Of course, it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you for $35 to join them. If you're paying any attention whatsoever to the news, and I hope you are at this point in time, and I know it's tough to do. I'm the person that tells you when you wake up in the morning, Turn that crap off. Do not start your day with that level of stress. Just don't do it. I'm a big fan of watching like Gilligan's Island reruns or Bewitched reruns or something like that and starting off my day with a smile. I'd rather see Tabitha turn herself into a cookie because she doesn't want witch mom and grandma to find her. To me, that's funny stuff. You can get into it all day long, but if you are paying attention, I hope you are paying attention throughout the day. You find your news the way you want to find your news. If you're watching what's happening in states like Virginia, if you're watching the radical left go crazy, ladies and gentlemen, these people hate your guts. My daughter was personally accosted at a Chipotle because she was wearing a Trump sweatshirt. This was months ago. Months ago. Guys, what the guy who accosted her was unaware of at the time was if he had pushed the issue and gotten physical with her, she possesses the capability, the means, and the mental deftness to turn him into a piece of Swiss cheese. Thank God it didn't have to go that route. But there's people out there that hate you. These people are off their rockers, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared to defend yourself. The National Rifle Association has your back. Ask yourself why the lefty states are trying to pull away your gun rights at the same time getting violent and wanting to exercise their own. NRA.org/AAR. You can find them and all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. They're all there for you. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back to the CZ Studios, brother.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right. So, I want to give some advice out, and I want to hear your opinion of this. So, as these people, social media is as I've said for many, many years, is causing tremendous damage to the psyche of this nation. Sadly, it's the cat out of the bag, proverbial saying. The genie's out of the bottle, Lee. The grill smoke has been lit. You lifted off the lid of the Weber grill, and the grill smoke has escaped. You can't regather it and put it back. Sadly, it's out there. There's a lot of positive to it, but the vast majority of it is negative. It is allowing these people who are off their rockers to not only make fools of themselves, but what they believe to be, because they're stupid, anonymous threats. Threats against your life because they are so off their rocker. It's all based on the hatred of Donald Trump. Lee, who in their right mind wants to let violent criminals loose in their own neighborhoods? Explain that to me first, then we'll get into the psychological aspect of this. Would you explain that to me?
No one with any mind whatsoever wants violent criminals running loose in their neighborhood, but you're going to find some leftists who support them and their ideals. That's always been the problem, brother.
What are their ideals, Lee? What are their ideals? Let's talk. I'm glad you mentioned that. What are their ideals?
They want to hurt us, and I mean physically. They want all guns to be taken away by the government. They want a Third Reich type of government here in the United States, and they don't care what anybody thinks of it. They want all the guns turned in, and anybody who objects should be shot and killed, they believe. That's how bad they are.
Yeah, well, the psychological aspect of this is mind-boggling because in reality, this all stemmed. They didn't have a problem when Obama was deporting people. They didn't have a problem with Obama's ICE kicking people out of the country. In fact, the numbers at this point, Obama kicked more out than Trump has. Where were they?
And Tom Homan got a medal for doing a good job from the president.
From Barack Obama.
Yeah.
All right, where were they then?
They were happy because they're leftists, and that's okay if a leftist is doing it. There's so little they can nail Trump on. They think this is going to become an issue. I hope to God most of them say what they're going to do on their website. I know the Department of Justice will be watching that website. I know they're already going over to people's homes that have made threats to kill people or say that people need to be killed. They're going to open up and they'll see some deputies there or some federal agents. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, sadly, this stems from literally a pure hatred of Donald Trump. That's what's driving the majority of this. You've got to be a little bit unhinged in the first place, which, as far as I'm concerned, liberalism is a mental disease. They're unhinged anyway. I've got family members that have lost their marbles, that are so irate that they're penning letters to ICE pleading for them on their Instagram. It is nonsense. It's unreal. Take a listen to a comment from a short video I put out this morning. We're getting ready to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk a little bit about Alex Pretti in Minnesota. Here's one of the comments regarding my short that I put out from the studio this morning. So much wrong with this. First off, even attempting to defend the Gestapo. Let's start right there. The Gestapo. You want to enlighten people to what the Gestapo was?
That was called the Geheimschatzpolizei. That was the Nazis' secret police. They had no laws, no rules. They did whatever the agents wanted. Terrible.
And would you compare ICE to Gestapo? Gestapo, by the way, murdering people at their doors, murdering Jews, pulling families out of their homes and shooting them in the face. And this is what they did, ladies and gentlemen, to the tune of millions of murders. And I want you to keep that in the back of your mind and juxtapose that against where we go with Alex Pretti here, and good in just a moment. Let me continue. Second, they are not law enforcement. They are immigrations and customs enforcement and have no jurisdiction over citizens, nor do they have the authority to enforce law. Lee?
Completely wrong. They are federal law enforcement officers.
That is absolutely
They can make arrests. Boom, 100%.
And they are designated by the federal government to enforce immigration law.
That's their specialty. Okay, they understand that better than I do, certainly. But they are federal law enforcement officers. They can take and make criminal arrests for non-immigration issues.
Third, regarding Alex, this is all from one comment. Third, all I saw him doing, Alex Pretti, was recording, helping someone up, and holding his arm out to protect personal space, none of which is even against any laws. Now, let me make this very, very clear. He had injected himself into an active law enforcement scene, which is a crime. It is obstruction. It is a felony. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, former law enforcement.
No, you can't go up and tell the cops how to do their job or take action when they're taking action. That's a great way to get arrested.
Oh, arrested for what? Interfering with the police officer and obstructing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You bet.
All right. The moment he touched the police officer, it was what?
That's a felony if they're federal, and they could go straight to the can.
All I saw him doing was recording, helping someone up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the way they see this. They don't see him as inserting himself into ongoing law enforcement activity. They see him as helping someone up who is in the process of likely being arrested. That's a crime. And holding his arm out to protect personal space. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You impede law enforcement officers, you've given up your right to personal space because you have just, as he says, protecting personal space. You've now invaded their personal space, which is a crime. Crime. C-U-R-I-M-E. Crime. Do you understand that? When we come back, I'll finish reading this and we'll talk a little bit about why what happened to Alex Pretti happened to him. Because facts are stubborn things, ladies and gentlemen. Facts do not suffer fools. We're going to give you the absolute facts, like it or not, when we come back. More with Lee the Gunwriter Williams. Don't go away. Well, it was. And now it doesn't. Visit nraila.org today. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Here we go. I'll get it. The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you mobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom. If you're watching on the streams, I apologize. We've got a lot of new equipment, a lot of new stuff going on here that have some learning curves, and we're still trying to figure it out. We've got some buffering going on. I do apologize for that, but you should be able to hear everything okay. If it bothers you until we get it completely figured out, just visit armedamericanradio.com and click the listen live button. Boom, you can do that. We don't want you watching this while you're driving anyway, okay? And it is, as Greg and I mention every week, a radio show. But we're proud, and it's fun to be able to bring it to you live. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and share the post. Follow us. Subscribe to our podcast, Armed American Radio. Visit us over on YouTube. Like us, subscribe us, click the little bell over there. A lot of you are doing that. We appreciate that very much. You can watch us on Facebook. Join the 80,000 plus fans over there. Rumble's growing, so we appreciate all your help, and we need your support. So please visit all of our great sponsors. Bud's Gun Shop comes to mind, budsgunshop.com. They have every accessory you need, and you need every accessory they have. Maybe you don't need all of them, but you want them if you're like me. So make sure to visit our exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com, budsgunshop.com. There's always great specials going on over there. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back in, brother. All right, so let's
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go to Alex Pretti now. Well, let me finish some of these comments. Let me jump over here, finish some of these comments. Also, it's funny how you bots, sheep, whichever offends you the most, defend the Gestapo, but at the same time imply even existing around them creates a volatile environment. Like, what goes through your brain, really giving benefit of the doubt there, that makes you think defending murderers intimidated by our freedoms is okay? It's not. It needs to stop. You guys do not want to be on the wrong end of this history. Okay, well, this clown, David Barr, Dr. B, you don't respond to these people. You just let them go, and people come in behind you and put whatever they want to put in there. But, guys, if you want to respond to that, visit the short over there and have at it. Armed American Radio, YouTube, Armed American Radio. You'll see the short there. You'll know what I'm talking about. Check it out. It's interesting. Lee, facts. They don't see what you see. They just don't see it. They really, truly believe. They buy into, and this all ties back to political rhetoric, coming from Waltz and Fry and Murphy, who these high-level Democrats at the federal level out there lying to the American public all day long, just looking at the camera and bald-faced lying to you. It's absolutely ridiculous. But this is the way they think. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind. This is what they think. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a recipe for disaster. So, Lee, I'll let you comment on that, and then we'll go over to talk about Alex Pretti and why what happened to him happened to him, because it's not hard to decipher.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is here. I think some of the recent stuff I've seen on their websites is the worst I've ever seen it. I don't think it can get much worse. I think the next step is going to be physical violence, unfortunately.
Well, it's leading to that, and they're certainly calling for it. From what I understand, the call's over at Blue Sky, because I don't go there, but I've read enough about it and seen enough of it to know that they're absolutely moving in that direction. And when you consider the fact that they've got 3 more years left of Trump who is clearly living in their heads and driving them berserk, very dangerous combination. Let's talk about Alex Pretti. Guys, this is not difficult to decipher, as I mentioned. Let me explain what I mean. Alex Pretti strapped up lawfully, apparently. Apparently he has a Minnesota permit, and I'm going to tell you right now, none of that matters. But he did do so lawfully. He showed up to a volatile situation that he knew was volatile. If he didn't think that, he's dumber than he already was. And let me go out on record and say that, because he should have known better. He willfully inserted himself into ongoing activity, law enforcement activity, in a situation he knew was volatile, and he did it, Lee, knowing he was armed. Under what circumstance would you advise anybody carrying a concealed weapons permit to willfully inject themselves into any type of violence when they had the ability not to do so, but especially law enforcement activity while they're carrying out their, and get this, ladies and gentlemen, controversial to some of you morons out there, doing their lawful duty? enforcing federal immigration law. I don't care if you like it. Too bad for you. Deal with it. Lee.
Yeah, I don't understand. I think he had some serious mental issues based on what his parents have said, based on the fact that he had just been fired from his nursing job at the VA. I think that this kind of activity draws these kind of people out and puts them in the position where they will feel a little power. I have a huge issue with the shooting. Should have never happened. But putting yourself in a situation like that while you're armed doesn't always end well, as it didn't for him.
No, and we can talk about the shooting, whether it was a good shoot, bad shoot. All that's going to come out in an investigation. None of that matters to what I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen. None of it. Because had he stayed on the sidelines, banging his pots and pans, blowing his whistles, yelling like a moron, screaming obscenities, which he has every First Amendment right to do, have at it. But the moment you stepped into that and did it armed, or are you too stupid to understand that this is going to escalate? Which it did. And sometimes when it escalates, Lee, you were law enforcement. Those cops this is split-second stuff. Gun, gun, gun. Now, I've gone back and looked at that video countless times, and the different angles of it, it looks to me as if the individual, when he drew his firearm, when the other officer pulled the gun out, he didn't even look at that. He didn't even see it. All he was hearing was gun, 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 saw a gun, and fired. Period. And if you look at it from another angle, you can see Pretti, who was not going down, on his knee, turn towards his right and put his hand back towards his right where his holster would have been or where he thought his gun was. Was he reaching for that firearm at that moment in time? That's a furtive movement that's going to get you killed if you're interacting unlawfully with law enforcement when you have no business to be there, Lee. This was 100,000% avoidable, and it was 100,000 gobzillion% his fault for being there. I want you to correct me if you think I'm wrong.
I don't think he should have been shot. I'll be quite honest with you. I
Maybe not.
This is the problem you have when you have feds who aren't used to dealing with this people doing local law enforcement. Local law enforcement, if Minneapolis PD hadn't been sidelined, they probably wouldn't have shot him. Because the difference between a local officer, and I spent 10 years as one, and a fed is that locals deal with armed people all the time. Mm-hmm. My record is 4 guns away during one shift. But these feds, you put them in a situation like this, it becomes difficult for them because they're not trained for it.
Oh,
they're not used to encountering armed folks all of the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lee is making my point for me. It's not going to turn out well. It doesn't matter if it was a good shoot or not. I don't care if the officer gets arrested and goes to jail.
He won't.
Well, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. What matters is if Pretti had stayed on I got to be very careful here, had stayed there banging the drums and yelling the whistles, he wouldn't have put himself in that position if he had just stayed there. He did. And it didn't work out well for him because cops are human and can make mistakes, particularly when they're under the pressure that they're under now. I'm not going over there, man. I got a gun.
Look what these guys are going through on a daily basis. Okay, these would be the last people. These federal agents would be the last people I would recommend anybody going and screwing around with. Okay, look what they're facing.
Yeah, especially
look
doing
at
it
the people
armed.
that are coming up to them. Yeah, it's just a negative situation.
100,000% preventable. Period.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
This
he
man
had to
should
get involved. I think the guy probably had some mental issues going on. I don't know. I don't care. But it didn't end well for him.
Now, let's take his position. These guys are a bunch of trigger-happy killers. So let me take my gun and tangle with them. Under no circumstance should he have been there. Under none. There is absolutely no way to argue that, ladies and gentlemen. Go for it. Good luck. You'll lose. Checkmate you every single time if you believe differently. It's that simple. That man should have been waking up to a hot cup of Java on a cold Minnesota morning Instead, he's pleading with his Creator to forgive him of his sins. Didn't have to happen, ladies and gentlemen, and he brought it all on himself. We'll be right back. What do we got time-wise? You got so professional. This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back, guys. You watch the show, you know I hold this card up every single day when we hear that rejoiner coming in from Attorneys on Retainer. I'm going to be out there at the AAR offices, the Attorneys for Freedom Law Group. Law firm on February 18th through the 23rd. We'll be broadcasting 3 days of Armed American Radio there for you, Thursday, Friday, and the Sunday Monster Cast. will be coming to you live from beautiful Phoenix area, Phoenix, Arizona, one of my favorite places on earth, if not my favorite place on earth. Absolutely love it out there, so I'm looking forward to that. Come meet us. Heavy Duty Country is going to be there. AAR Hawkins is going to be there. Alan Gottlieb is going to be there. I'm going to be there. Jared Yanis is going to be there. Kwang Win is likely going to be there. Ryan Petty, Parkland Dad, all the guys you hear on the show, going to be there. Why? Because attorneys on retainer is the real deal. So if you carry a firearm for self-defense, ladies and gentlemen, you're already well aware that bad things can happen. Why would you want a bad thing to happen after a bad thing happens, meaning all of a sudden you don't have an attorney when you need one the most? Because you're not entitled to an attorney, ladies and gentlemen, during an investigation. Understand? I'm telling you this every single day on the radio. Take full advantage of this right now. It's easy to do. Attorneysonretainer.us. Use the promo code AAR. You just visit the site, attorneysonretainer.us/AAR, and join them now. Smartest move you've ever made if you carry a firearm, particularly when you see the violent left getting even more violent, ladies and gentlemen. As much as I hate to say it, it is what it is. You had better have all the protection you need, and it's not just going to be your gun. It's going to be afterwards, and a lawyer, unfortunately, if you're investigated or even worse, charged with a crime, Attorneys on Retainer has you from split second one from the time the call is made after the incident. So take advantage of that. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back in, brother.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, now let's go back to Pretti for just a moment. I think is probably the smart thing to do. Let's go back to him and continue to talk about this conversation. Talk a little bit more about this, Lee. Because we said, and you're in agreement, I got to mention, Derek, who's running the boards for us today while Greg is out, made the comment to me during the break. He said, I said, Derek, argue with me. Tell me, come on. He says, I can't argue with you. There's no way to argue against that. It's impossible. Had he not injected himself there, he'd be alive. And he said, my father always taught me, you mess with the bull, you're going to get the horns. I don't care if the bull shouldn't have done it or not. The bull's going to do what the bull does. You're going to wind up a martyr? Is that what you want? Now, Paul Markle made it clear some of these people do want to be martyrs. Maybe they do. Lee, but I have a feeling that Pretti would probably want to wake up and have that cup of coffee instead of having a conversation with his maker when it was 100,000% avoidable. Lee?
Yeah, my issue is with FBI Director Kash Patel.
So let's go there.
More than it is
out about that. Let's go there. Go for it.
With the agents that were, after the shooting, he said no one wants to be peaceful shows up at a protest with a firearm that is loaded with 2 full mags. That's not a peaceful protest, and you don't get to touch law enforcement. Well, that part is right, but I strongly disagree, and I believe most of our gun organizations, pro-gun groups, say that the Second Amendment guarantees our right to be armed, period, full stop. There's no thing like Kash was saying, like there's some kind of protest clause which cancels it out. Or he made a big deal about the fact that I had 2 mags. When I'm out, brother, I have 2 guns and 4 mags. Mm-hmm. There's no ammunition limit anywhere in the Second Amendment.
Well, I'm going to try to play devil's advocate here. I don't want to put words in Kash's mouth. I as you know, I know Kash. I've spoken with him before. I have a feeling that I understand what he was trying to say. I don't think it was articulated very well. And all the pro-gun groups, including myself, are all taking issue with the statements that came from both him and from Kristi Noem. And all I have to do is point to the quote-unquote. Oh yeah, let's point to the Virginia protest back in 2020. 60,000, better than 2/3 of them, heavily armed. No problems whatsoever at a protest against the Democrat-led government. And they made their point very clear. Then what they do, they cleaned everything up afterwards. The surrounding streets and the Capitol grounds were left in better condition, even according to the Democrats, than when they arrived. They actually picked up after themselves, okay? So those were boneheaded statements. And I think where they were going with this was, and he didn't articulate himself well, I'm not sure. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here, was injecting himself willingly and knowingly, showing up armed, willing to inject himself into law enforcement activity while armed. Right? I think that may be where he was going, but I don't know. Have they made a statement to clarify this at all? Because I would certainly love to see it.
my issue is about him kind of undermining the Second Amendment. Now, I get it. If you're ICE or Border Patrol or whatever, you don't like the media. 93% of their stories about ICE have been negative, the general media.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, you cannot take apart the Second Amendment. It's sacrosanct. It applies to protesters, even those who we don't support.
Of course. Made that clear yesterday. He had every right to be there armed. He had every right to be there armed.
Yeah.
That went out the window when he got involved. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. But I'm sick of hearing people talk about, well, he shouldn't have had a gun. Well, if he wanted to have a gun, that's totally his right. Now, he screwed up with it. It was taken away from him, and then he was shot to death. I think we're going to see a lot of negative comments coming out about the shooting from the left, but these things take a while. I went through one, but I've never seen one, and certainly none at this level are going to be handled poorly. I think the agents will be okay. I mean, they thought they were shooting someone who was threatening them, and legally, that's fine.
Didn't have to happen, though, did it? Once again.
It didn't.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have got to go back to the why did it happen? There's no arguing your way out of that, ladies and gentlemen. It's that simple. You want to go to a protest armed? Have at it. Have at it. I've been to armed rallies. Never in my right mind would I do it or would I advise anybody to mix it up with cops armed ever, particularly when it's as volatile as this situation has been for so long, which, by the way, is the way it is because of ginned up activity from politicians, hate-fueled rhetoric, the whole Nazi thing. Americans are fed up with this. And by the way, yeah, this is what I voted for. I did vote to get these scumbags off our streets. That's exactly what I voted for. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend, Lee, that I understand why a bunch of lefty goofballs are protecting people who are raping, robbing, beating, murdering. I'll never be able to wrap my head around that. Maybe you can help me with the remaining 30 seconds we have. I'll let you try.
No, I'll just say this. Look at what those agents have been through in those days before that horrible shooting. Look how they've been treated. I mean, they're out there, they're switched on 150%. And my heart goes out to them. It really does. They are not looking for trouble, but any trouble that comes up to them is going to be handled expeditiously.
With the threats made against them, ladies and gentlemen, they are on high alert. Higher alert than they've ever been on before, folks. Act accordingly. That's simple. I'll defer right back to Derek's dad. You mess with the bull, expect to get the horns. It's pretty much that simple. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, real fast, where can people find you? 10 seconds.
ArmedAmericanNews.org, thegunwriter.substack.com. We hope you go to saf.org.
Do it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wake up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Until then, enjoy your day. Stay very safe. Never leave your cave without your club. See you on the radio tomorrow.
All right, my man. Great show. I'm out of here. I'll talk to you tomorrow or Thursday.
Rock on. I'll see Bobby in there tomorrow, right?
You will. Yep. All right, buddy.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it, man.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.